Hi, it's the middle of November and I have got some books to talk to you about that I've read so far this month. And I have read 7 for the first half of this month, which is good going. I started off with Annette Galliarc, if I do my notes here, bear with me, that comes out on the 2nd of February. And it's Maude Horton's Glorious Revenge by Lizzie Pook. Now, this is a second Lizzie Pook book that I've read, and I much prefer this one. This is my favourite. I preferred it to her first one. It's a sort of like there's a historical element to it as well, and you've got excellent characters. We're in 1850, and Maude's sister Constance has died on an Arctic expedition. Through a tragic accident. Now, Constance had disguised herself as a boy to go on this expedition because she wanted adventure. But Maude wants to find out the truth, particularly Constance's journal has come into her possession. And it's the journal that she wrote while she was on this expedition. And from that, Maude knows that there was more to her death than just a tragic accident. And so she wants to find out the truth. And you have got an excellent villain in here. And you've also got execution tourism almost, where these excursions would go to watch hangings. So you've got all sorts of elements of this, and I loved it. I thought it was a really good read because you've got Maude's point of view and you've got Constance's journal as well, so you get to know her, and I loved that one. The next one I read was this one, A Girl Made of Air by Nydia Hetherington. I bought this because the cover just sang to me. And the blurb suggested a book about a circus for life and folklore. You've got our main character is a funambulist, a wire walker, called Mouse. And we start off with her being interviewed by a journalist about her life. And then we have her reminiscences of her life. It's told in an almost non-chronological form because we go backwards and forwards, and we've got interviews and journals and articles and letters and folklore stories as well. And she had a sad little life at the circus. Her mother didn't really want her. And then this wire walker, Serendipity Wilson, arrives and takes her under her wing and teaches her to be a wire walker, and she becomes a star. But then an incident occurs and she disappears off to America and tries to find out the truth of this incident that happened. It wasn't magic and sparkle. I was expecting magic and sparkle. That's what I felt that I was going to be getting, and it wasn't. It's dark, it's full of secrets and human weakness. And you get the grimy side of circus life in this one. It's a very slow pace. And it was an okay read. It didn't blow me away, it was an okay read. Then I read an arc, and it's The Singularity by Balsam, Karam, that comes out on the 17th of January. And this was a haunting story. You've got two women, two refugees. We've got a pregnant woman who's on a business trip, and she sees another woman throw herself off a cliff. And this woman that threw herself off a cliff, she's a refugee. She lives in an alleyway in a tent with her mother and children. An alleyway where you've got bullet-ridden buildings on either side. And her eldest daughter has gone missing. We don't know why. we never told why. And you've got the despair of this woman. And then the pregnant lady, when she returns home, she finds that her child has died, but she refuses to be induced. And we have her reminiscences of when her family arrived in the country as political refugees and the racism and everything that they faced. You've got a fragmented narrative. I wasn't always sure who was talking, but it's a haunting tale, called very emotional at times. Then I read a Claire Keegan, a very short story, 67 pages, The Forester's Daughter. It was a part of a short story collection. And we've got Victor Keegan, who's a forester in County Wicklow, his wife Martha, and 3 teenage children. And one day he finds a gun dog, which he gives to his youngest daughter, Victoria, not because he's got any affection for her, really, but because he said that, well, I'll give the dog to the first child I see when I get home. And it was Victoria. And his wife, Martha, thinks that this is just going to cause nothing but heartbreak. And in this little short story, you've got buried secrets and wonderful characters. A marriage where love is absent. And this disappointment and this regret. And you even get the observations of the dog. I didn't quite expect the ending with that one, but it's a Claire Keegan book. You know, I love Claire Keegan's stories. Then I read this one, which I picked up in the charity shop because it just appealed to me. Confessions of a Fallen Angel. And this has got so many emotions in it. It's dark, it's emotional, it's funny. In the first chapter, our narrator tells us that he died for the first time when he was at 10 of an asthma attack. And when he's resuscitated, he's left with the ability to foresee the deaths of those close to him. He dreams about the deaths. And each section, each chapter is the name of a person. So you know what's going to happen. But it's not full of foreboding. There's hope and love in here. There is death and violence, and one of the most violent characters that I've ever read about. And the narrator, you like him. He's flawed. And he's a victim of miscarriages of justice. And he tries so hard to do the right thing and save people. And that is, roller coaster emotions in that one. That was a good read. Then I read another arc, and it's one that's touted as being the global phenomenon of 2024. And it comes out on the 1st of February, and it's called Anna O by Matthew Blake. And there's lots of hype about this one. And you've got Anna, who allegedly committed a double murder when she was sleepwalking, but has been asleep for 4 years. She's committed the murder. She was found with a knife in her hands and hasn't woken up since. Dr. Ben Prince is a sleep expert, and he is called upon by the Ministry of Justice to wake her because they've decided that it's about time she woke up and stood trial for murder. You've got twists, you've got betrayals. As you're reading, you're having different suspects the whole time. You've got different perspectives, and you've also got Anna's journal that she wrote leading up to the murder. You've got references to Greek tragedy and Shakespeare. You've even got references to Harry Potter, which I still do not understand. For me, the first half was full of twists and turns, and the second half seemed to drag. But that was just me. I think it's got the potential to be a bestseller this year. It's got everything in it that you'd expect as a bestseller, as a really good thriller. And I think it's going to do really well. And then the last one I read this half of the month is this one. It's another Claire Keegan. It's her short story collection, Walk the Blue Fields. And as with all Claire Keegan stories, you get real characters, you get raw emotions, you've got longing, you've got misery, you've got all sorts in these short stories. You've got wonderful landscape, you've got folklore, and I loved it. She writes such wonderful stories. My favourite one is Walk the Blue Fields, about a priest full of wondering whether he's made the right choices. He's searching for answers, and he goes walking across the blue fields after a wedding that is officiated at, where he saw the bride-to-be struggling during the ceremony. And he walked across the blue field looking for answers and looking for healing for himself. And that was my favourite one. The one I talked about earlier, The Forester's Daughter, that is also in here. So a super first half of the month. Very wide, very varied selection of books that I read. It's got to be, so far, the winner for November, or November Part 1, is Claire Keegan. You know, it's sort of like a shoo-in. I love this one. That was close second. So, you know, I think it was the variety of characters and the emotions in this one that sung it for me. If I hadn't have read this one, then this would have been my book of the first half of the month. But as it is, I'm tipping Claire Keegan. So I'll see what I read in the second half of the month to see what's coming up. So happy reading. Take care.